Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Elon Musk will not be in Washington every day, but DOGE is here to stay. A Wired.com article says it best. And these are people that do not like Elon Musk and they do not like DOGE. They say this: removing DOGE at this point would be like trying to remove a drop of food coloring from a glass of water. Powerful metaphor. And from CNBC.com, Musk's role in DOGE qualifies as continuing and permanent, according to a federal judge. This federal judge is trying to trap Elon Musk in depositions, in lawsuits, and to give him a lot of trouble. So the administration is going to fight back against this. But she does have some point that, yes, Elon Musk's influence is going to continue, and the DC people are not going to like it. A lot of politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, have been making a lot of money off the federal government. A lot of them have spouses that have NGOs. They get paid millions of dollars through their little side deals and through real estate deals, owning property, owning buildings, and leasing them back to the federal government. DOGE has all of this already. Because that's the politicians making the money on a lot of this, and a lot of their friends and people that support them, people that donate to them, they're not going to easily make all these cuts permanent. There's going to be a fight about it. But we just learned today from Politico that some cuts are actually going to the Hill. From Politico, White House plans at last to send some DOGE cuts to the Hill. It's part of what they call a rescissions package, which is to take back funding that was already part of past legislation. It's not all the DOGE cuts, but it's some of the DOGE cuts. And it's necessary. And as we've seen Elon Musk recently say, he's not going to continue to support politicians with hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money to get elected unless he sees some action. In another major initiative for DOGE will be accessing additional sensitive Treasury data. From the Washington Post, DOGE employees may access sensitive Treasury data, according to a judge. A federal judge ruled the department's DOGE team could access sensitive financial information on millions of Americans, but must be vetted and trained first. Well, there's no problem with training the people and vetting the people. That wasn't the issue. The issue is using AI, using their data, using their expertise. They're going to figure out who's been stealing from the Treasury. But not just that. They're also using this to track down illegal aliens and share the information across data silos and different departments in the federal government to get the waste and the abuses and the fraud under control. Let's get into the full story from Wired. DOGE has achieved its final form. It may seem as though the worst excesses of DOGE have passed. The reality is the whole government is DOGE now. DOGE has quietly permeated all corners of the federal government. More than that, it's increasingly clear that its objectives are now indistinguishable from that of the broader Trump administration. Removing DOGE at this point would be like trying to remove a drop of food coloring from a glass of water. And what is DOGE doing? It's no longer loudly, clumsily attempting to fire thousands of government employees, but it is working in secret to collect, combine, and analyze data that was supposedly never intended to commingle, using that information to find and surveil illegal immigrants. They're also giving the Justice Department an assist on alleged voter fraud indictments. DOGE is starting to collaborate with the Department of Justice on election and voter fraud. We haven't seen the benefit of that yet, but we know they're capable of doing it. So we'll see what happens over the next few months. Even if Musk claims he's stepping away, though he just met with House Republicans this week, his lieutenants, his people, are still firmly in place at the agencies that control the federal workforce and regulate his companies. DOGE is reportedly using its XAI Grok chatbot to parse sensitive data, which potentially means millions of Americans' personal information is doubling as training data for the model. A 19-year-old who goes by Big Balls Online is still a central figure. And somehow this was recently news in Wired, that DOGE was using a Meta AI model to review emails from federal workers. Of course they were. DOGE tested and used Meta's Llama 2 model to review and classify responses from federal workers to the infamous fork in the road email. Materials viewed by Wired show that DOGE affiliates within the Office of Personnel Management tested and used Meta's Llama 2 model to review and classify responses from federal workers to the infamous fork in the road email that was sent across the government in late January. There would be no reason to not use artificial intelligence to go through hundreds of thousands, if not more, responses by email to a program like that. What's shocking is how good AI is at dealing with responses like that. We're going to be seeing a lot more AI in our lives over the next few years. Wired continues. Meanwhile, victories against DOGE may be short-lived. The Trump administration used it as a battering ram to push its policies through with overwhelming force. While the courts have held firm in some cases, just this week, a judge declared DOGE's takeover of the United States Institute of Peace to be unlawful. The policies still exist, and there are other ways to achieve them. And the United States Institute of Peace, that's a nonprofit organization created to work between Congress and the executive branch, but it really is part of the executive branch. Even if it wasn't, that judge is another one of these Washington, D.C. judges that is just doing whatever they can to extend their power beyond reason and will ultimately get overturned in an appeal. The Wall Street Journal reported recently that Director of the White House Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vought, would pick up DOGE's cost-cutting mantle in the post-Musk era. Expect him to wield not a hammer, but a finely edged blade. And this has always been the plan. Vought is the architect of Project 2025, the policy roadmap that DOGE has been following turn by turn. He has been explaining for months what happens after DOGE's first assault. Here's what Vought says. Quote, we're going to use all of our executive tools to make those savings permanent. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that those are not merely something that goes on a website, but becomes permanent. We'll work with Congress to do it, but we've also been aware of the extent to which Congress has had a hard time passing cuts of any magnitude. And so what we want to do is everything we can to use presidential tools to bank those savings home. The only part of this that hasn't gone to plan is that Congress may be more amenable than Vought gave it credit for. The House of Representatives managed to pass Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, and that bill has provisions that cut social safety nets into ribbons. Though most of those cuts are for illegal aliens and for people that don't work and don't even attempt to find work. That's where some massive Medicaid cuts are coming from. In some ways, DOGE is even more dangerous when it's boring. It has always been a tool, not an engine unto itself. It's no longer useful to think of it as a separate entity, as a tech billionaire's personal strike force. It's a means to an end, one part of a larger project to gut the federal government and redefine the social contract. It's important to keep a close eye on DOGE, to continue shining a light on what it does in the dark, but never lose sight of that project. A fool with a chainsaw is nothing compared to the full power of the state. And in another piece that does not like DOGE, the American Prospect says Elon Musk's fake retreat from DOGE. Despite the billionaires nominally stepping back, his loyalists remain in control of the group. In the past month, much has been made of Elon Musk purporting to step back from his Department of Government Efficiency to focus on running his flailing companies, particularly Tesla. Musk announced on the April Tesla earnings call that his time allocation to DOGE would drop significantly in May. There were also some earlier indications that the administration was planning to shuttle Musk out this month. And if the Trump administration was planning to follow the law, Musk could have been required to step down soon anyway, given his around-the-clock work schedule and the 130 workday limit set on his tenure as a special government employee. It's not clear in what ways exactly Musk's involvement with DOGE has changed since that Tesla earnings call, though he has reportedly been spending less time in Washington. But if you actually look at the composition of DOGE, it's very clear that diminishing Musk's power over the group would take a lot more than him shifting to part-time remote work. The people who do not like what Elon Musk is doing in the federal government, using his people, his AI, and his experts to catch people doing things they should not be doing and to find inefficiencies that should never have existed, they're absolutely terrified because they know what they've done. They know it is in all the data. They don't know exactly what he knows, but I'm sure a lot of them are assuming the worst. And maybe most of them don't get caught. And maybe most of what they've done doesn't get caught. But how do you know if it's going to be you? How do you know if you're going to get away with stuff or you're not going to get away with stuff? That's what they're worried about. As well as all of the power and money and resources they get from continuing to take from the federal government in ways they should not be taking. NGOs. Abuse of the Treasury, because for years it didn't properly track payments. Abuses of grants. Having friends at a government office and being able to get contracts you're not supposed to get for some kind of a side deal. Abusive credit cards. Federal credit cards that are supposed to be used for work that are being used at strip clubs and adult venues and for literally buying products at marijuana stores. All of this is documented. And somebody somewhere who's been doing this is going to be held accountable. And they blame Musk, but they know they're the ones that did it. Out of 110 people who have reportedly been involved with Doge, at least 46 of them have direct financial or professional ties to Elon Musk, according to research by the Revolving Door Project. In the majority of these cases, Doge staffers have worked for Musk directly at one or more of his companies, with SpaceX being the most common one. Similar analysis done by Wired at the end of March found 49 Musk-tied Doge employees, though that total includes second-degree connections, such as those connected to business associates of Musk, like Peter Thiel. If around half the employees working for Doge are from SpaceX, that gives you an idea of the level of intelligence and ability these guys have. And now you multiply that exponentially by giving them AI to work with. That makes the possibilities for reform at the government absolutely limitless. And it also means that people that have been messing around with the federal government's money are going to get caught. Several Doge officials are comically devoted to Musk. Steve Davis, for instance, has been identified by the New York Times as the day-to-day leader of Doge. Davis has worked for Musk in various capacities for decades. He's the president of the Boring Company and was instrumental in Musk's takeover of Twitter. In Kate Conger and Ryan Mack's Character Limit, a fantastic book on the Musk Twitter saga, the authors quote Neuralink CEO and Musk's fixer Jared Birchall as telling people, quote, if Elon asked Steve to jump out of a window, he would do it. Conger and Mack also recount a meeting between Twitter executives and Antonio Gracias, a personal friend of Musk's and longtime investor in his companies. Shortly before Musk actually executed his purchase of Twitter, he ran into a problem. He'd come up about $400 million short. Gracias went to Twitter executives on Musk's behalf and simply asked them to wire him the money. When they declined to do so, Gracias said, quote, you're not going to wire me the effing money? Are you saying no to Elon Musk? Gracias is now a top Doge official at the Social Security Administration, an agency that Musk has targeted in part because he believes that Democrats have been able to attract and retain vast numbers of illegal immigrants through entitlements fraud. Less than 2 weeks before Musk's fatal Tesla earnings call, Politico reported that Gracias was leading Doge's immigration task force, which seems poised to justify even more cuts. Or you could look at Jen Balajaria, Musk's personal assistant, who the Times reports, quote, has email addresses at multiple federal agencies, a sign of her reach across the bureaucracy. Conger and Mack quote some advice that Balajaria gave to a Twitter employee who had been currying favor with Musk. Quote, I can tell you're going to be around for a while, so let me tell you something. Elon is special in this world. It's our job to protect him and make sure what he wants to have happen happens. We need to protect the mission. And even if most rank-and-file Doge staffers don't quite have the same level of devotion to Musk as Davis, Gracias, or Balajaria, many would still find it exceedingly difficult to break free of Musk's interests or directives because of his notorious vindictiveness. Take Brandon Spikes, a longtime employee at multiple Musk companies who became head of IT at Musk's X in February. Spikes was a Doge staffer, but left after just 2 months. Imagine that Spikes had done something against Musk's wishes while at Doge. Say he publicly challenged Musk and Doge about there being millions of dead people receiving Social Security. We know there are many dead people that are receiving Social Security numbers and that are marked as alive, some of which Doge has gotten rid of, over 12 million of them. But there are still many millions of people with Social Security numbers marked as alive that then give them an identity to do things like vote and get benefits. That hasn't been fixed yet. It will be. We don't need to really rely on hypotheticals. We know that Musk has consistently demanded abject deference from his employees. At Twitter, he fired people who criticized him online, even seemingly fired an executive for not laughing at one of his jokes. Just a few weeks ago, Tesla fired an employee who protested Musk's leadership at the company. At a Musk company, if he says up is down, then you agree or you're fired. There is no reason to believe that this calculus has changed for Doge staffers following Musk's pullback. I agree with that in the article. I don't see why anyone would cross Musk at one of his companies or one of his projects. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Musk's influence over the Trump administration also extends beyond Doge. As the Trump campaign's largest individual donor, both in dollars and the in-kind donation of Twitter, Musk has a direct link to the president, and the administration seems to be taking a whole-of-government approach to bolstering his interests. Except, of course, for tariffs. Some non-Doge figures in the Trump administration have significant ties to Musk, like Jared Isaacman, while other Musk-tied officials blur the line between Doge and regular administration jobs. After Musk's April announcement, his lawyer, Chris Gober, who had his own stint at Doge, told the Daily Signal that his expectation is that Musk will play a critical role in the administration moving forward. Musk also knows that if he doesn't side with the administration, and if the people that want to destroy the administration get into power again, they will go after Musk. They've made it pretty clear. So it's always going to be in his interest to keep those people out of power the best he can. Absent a much larger purge of Musk's close associates from DOGE and the rest of the federal government, it's hard to see how reducing his, quote, time allocation to DOGE functionally means anything at all. Musk remains as intertwined with the Trump administration as ever, and so there's no reason for anyone who has disliked the billionaire's impact on the federal government to take much comfort in his nominal retreat. Any decrees made by Musk will still be gospel to those in government who are loyal to or financially dependent on him. To paraphrase one DOGE official, are they really going to say no to Elon Musk? They will not say no to Elon Musk, and the way he operates his companies is, he's not a full-time CEO for any of his companies. In a recent biography on Musk, they explain he goes and visits each of his major companies once a week. He talks to his top team and finds out what their biggest problem is. He works with them on their biggest problem, and then he moves on to the other companies. And then he repeats the process again in the following week. So if we see Musk in DC once a week, he's running it as closely as he normally would be running Tesla or SpaceX or Neuralink or XAI. That's the process. And now the process is permanent.